In today's episode, you're going to be listening in to a one-on-one coaching session I have with a health coach. We're diving into her ideal person, her content categories to come up with a way for her to put the right kind of video on her Instagram account, in stories, in reels, in IGTV, on her feed. And we're also coming up with ways she can easily fit this into her schedule. We're going to talk about the nitty gritty of how to make an effective reel, how to make a reel that's going to not only nurture your existing audience, but attract your ideal follower who's not following you yet. I'm also going to share with you how I edit my reels, how I strategically plan my reel so that people will watch it and then come back to my reels channel to binge watch the rest of my reels. Before we get into that, though, I want to remind you, I have a course that is going to help you get clarity on who your ideal person is, what your brand is, what your content category should be so that you know who you're talking to on video and what you should be talking about, how to effectively show up in stories, how to sell without selling, and how to edit and repurpose video so that you're on all the platforms without causing you to have to spend a lot more time on video. You have lifetime access to my course. This is Video School. It's an 8-module course. And you also get me because we're going to have critiques and feedback sessions so that people can help you with your video before you even post it. If you're interested in this, check it out on my website, thisisvirginiakerr.com, or click the link in my bio on my Instagram account at thisisvirginiakerr, and you can see what This is Video School and the community is all about. Okay, let's get going with today's episode with Jen Pickett, who is a nutritionist turned functional medicine health coach. How is video going for you right now? Are you using it very often? And if you are, how often?
Um, Not as often as I need to. Sometimes I kind of get the courage up and I go for it. And then other times I get wrapped up in everything else I need to do and it doesn't get done.
Do you have a game plan? Do you know what types of video you should be showing up with? Do you just wing it and just think of something on the fly? How are you planning?
For my Insta stories, a lot of times that might be I get off a coaching call and I really like what someone said, or I think that someone else could relate to what we discussed, and so I'll hop on real quick and say, "Hey, listen to this." Other times I might do it consistently in on the consistent basis with what my podcast is about that week. So I hopped on last night and just did a little blurb about sugar cravings, and the call to action was encouraging people to go listen to the podcast. So I've got my podcast schedule completely laid out with the topics every single week. And so I know I need to like have some videos and some Insta reels that just again kind of lead back so we have that overriding theme for the week. I've heard you talk about that theme for the week, and I really need to get in the habit of doing that.
Are you only shooting videos when you are promoting your podcast? Is that the only thing that's keeping you consistent is the podcast? And how often are you promoting your podcast in stories?
Um, Usually 2 to 3 times a week is when I promote it in stories. And I've got a podcast that comes out every Tuesday. I've had some bonus episodes with live coaching that comes out on Fridays. And so I've got two different things that I need to promote. So it really just depends.
And I think that coaching session is going to be great because if you can get it on video, if you can do what we're doing right now and get it on a Zoom call, then you
Yes.
can take chunks of that and put that on your actual feed. You could also promote the podcast with a 15 to 30-second blurb in stories. And that's letting people see you have that interaction like we're doing right now, which
Right.
is social proof. So you're going to choose a clip that's going to give the audience a win, something that they can turn around and use right now. So there's
Okay.
a tip right there, and that's good because that's going to help build trust. But when you are showing you working with someone, that's also social proof, and it lets the viewer see themselves in that person's story, shoes,
Okay.
so that they can think, oh, if I'm working with Jen, I'm having sugar cravings too. And I'm hearing this girl's story and she sounds a lot like me. So that is really going to just make that trust building go faster. You need some kind of strategy so that you're not just going on video when you feel like it, and you're not just going on video when you have a podcast to promote. Because here is why: when someone hits your account, they size you and your account up in about 2 seconds. They're
Okay.
looking at your highlights to see if you got video there. They're looking at your feed as a whole to just figure out what you're all about. They're looking at your bio to see what you're going to give them. So it needs to be about them and not you, your picture. But then when they look at that profile picture, they're looking to see if that pink circle is around it, to see if,
Yeah.
oh, did she do anything today that I can learn from, or not even learn from, but just to look at you. They're real nosy. They just
Yeah.
want to see you. So if you could just say to yourself, if I only do one thing in stories today, it will be a face to camera video giving some kind of tip. What do you think about that?
I like that. And I like that one tip. And I need to think a little bit more broad, I think, too. My health coaching encompasses that very holistic, whole body, whole life approach, that physical health, mental and emotional health, and spiritual health. And so there is a ton of content that I could really cover. And I need to just think of other like simple tips and just kind of go for it. Today, for example, I did, because I was writing in my planner, that's my little to-do list. And I use motivational stickers because it works for me. Just seeing those positive messages on that page is just kind of a good reminder for me to be working on my mindset. And so I thought, oh, I'm going to record that. It wasn't my face. It was just my planner and the stickers. But I thought I need to do more stuff like that, just very practical. It's gotten attention before when I showed like lemon water for detox in first thing in the morning,
Yes.
But in those cases, do I need to show me, or can I show this, the item or whatever I'm doing, and not show and have my voice, but not necessarily my face?
It's fine just to use your voice, and you can mix it up. You could have your first 15-second video in stories could be you saying, I'm going to show you what I drink every morning that helps me X, Y, and Z. And then the next video is you showing them without us seeing your face. So you can mix it up. In fact, that's better to mix up than just to always be a talking head.
Yeah.
When you go through all of the different components of a client's life, tell me a little bit more about that. When you say you have a holistic approach, because I think if we dissect that, we're going to be able to come up with some content categories for you so that you are able to pull from all the different areas that you help people, your ideal person, with. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's mindset, it's daily habits, it's sleep, it's exercise, it's diet. Those are content categories that you can constantly be rotating through, not just for stories, but for your feed too.
And another component is stress management, and I think that's what everybody has in their mind when they see, oh, okay, she's a dietitian by profession. She's now a functional medicine certified health coach. She's going to put me on a strict diet, and she's going to make me feel guilty and ashamed for how I've treated my health in the past. And so part of this, I've got to really build that know, like, and trust factor. And I've got to deal with those misconceptions of, this is what people think a health coach session is going to look like. So I've got to kind of deal with those misconceptions as I bring in those helpful topics.
You know what I like about that? So the first thing I thought of was, okay, a graphic, because I've done similar things, what your content feels like right now, your content creation versus what it would feel like if you had a video plan. You could do the same exact thing, a contrast, and that's just a graphic that you would create.
Yeah.
But even more fun is you could bust those myths with a series in reels.
Oh, I like that.
And show and have fun with it. You could be the really nervous client who's so worried that she's about to get shamed or she's about to get punished because she's doing the wrong thing with her diet. And then you say, no, this is what it's really like. See, and you play with that so that we get to see your personality, but you make that a series. So let's say there's 5 myths that you want to debunk, and you create that series 1 through 5. And what's so smart about that is when you create a series and somebody randomly sees part 3, well, they know there's a part 1 and a part 2. So they're way more likely to go back to your Reels channel and go search for those, which is why it's important to have a Reels cover so that you've got your title on there, the part 1, part 2, part 3, so that it's easy for them to identify the rest of that series.
Okay, I love that idea. I think some of this where I get stuck is the technology side, like making sure all of those really important pieces, like you said, making sure it has a cover, you know, and then two, just recording the reel. How do I get? I mean, I don't know how to do it and splice it together. So the ones I've done, I've only done, I think, 3 reels. And I want to do these. Like, I think they're fun. I think they're creative. I know they get my attention. And I think it's a really lighthearted way to bring forth some really important information, like in a very short amount of time. And I love music. So I've got the ideas, but it's the execution where I struggle.
You don't have to have the music in there. If we want to use your voice, a lot of people, especially if they have business accounts, don't have music. I don't use music in reels because I am 99% sure that eventually all business accounts will be stripped of music, and I just want to get used to it right now. Plus,
Right.
it's way more powerful for someone to see your face and hear your actual voice versus you doing lip dubs and music. So there's that right there. I'm not saying you can't use it. It's fun. I get it. But just know that it'll go away one day if you have a business account.
Well, I had to switch to a creator account to get music because before I didn't have music at all on Insta stories, on Reels, like nothing. And now that I've gone back and forth a few times trying to test it. So right now I have music, but it's only because I'm in a creator account.
Yeah. If you go back to business, it'll probably go away.
Yeah. Can you do music and your voice? I think that would be fun.
You can on TikTok. On Reels, they don't have that opportunity yet, unless you are not shooting and editing inside the Instagram app, and instead it is a little bit more of a learning curve if you want to go learn an app outside of Instagram. But quite frankly, it's a lot easier to repurpose video. Although now you can save your reel to your phone without the watermark, or I don't even think there is a watermark, but so that's an option. But if you were to use an outside app, then you could add music inside that app and then upload it to Reel, and that you could lower the volume on that music so that you would be able to speak at the same time that there's music.
Okay.
But again, if we put too many bells and whistles on our videos in the beginning, we make it too complicated and we're not going to do it consistently or at all in some cases. So don't get too bogged down with those details. If you need to learn the simple basics of editing, that's what you need to do first. And what I really like about Reels and TikTok is that it's forcing us to make short, concise videos packed with value. Whether they are an actual Reel or an actual TikTok, that's something we should be doing with all of our videos. Not that all of our videos should be 15 to 30 seconds, but less is more when it comes to video in most cases. And if you can master the basics of editing a Reel, then you can master the basics of editing an IGTV, a Facebook video. It's teaching us how to edit. So for me, I don't use the app to do that. I use an outside app. I use InShot or VideoLeap, but that's up to you. You can test both and see if you find that the Reel features are more user-friendly for you. And if not, then consider using an outside app.
So you record, so you go to that app to actually record it?
No, I record on my phone and then I upload the video to the app. And then what I will do is I will add the text inside the Reels app or inside Instagram. And if I use that same video on TikTok, I call them naked videos when they don't have text on them. So I put their clothes on inside the apps. That way they look like they belong on that app. So my Reels always have text from the Instagram app and my TikToks always have text from the TikTok app, because the algorithm knows when you are editing inside or outside. And so because I shoot everything outside the app, at least me adding the bells and whistles on, like the text and the background to the text inside the app, that does give me a little bit of love, I think, from the algorithm. That's what I tell myself.
And we want to hold to that algorithm because, I mean, that's just kind of how it works. So, from an editing standpoint, is there anything else that you use besides VideoLeap and InShot? I've played with those a tiny bit. I just get kind of overwhelmed with some of these apps and the editing. It's the editing part that I get overwhelmed.
Think of it this way. When you shoot your video, that is the beginning of the editing process. The more B-roll or the more footage, if you want to call it that, you have in the shooting phase, the more editing you're going to have to do. That's why it's so crucial for you to outline your video first,
Yeah.
so that you know what your bullet points are going to be and what the visuals you're going to use for those bullet points are. The visuals could be simply a text. It could be you doing something. It could be you changing clothes and acting like a different person. It could be you putting a picture on the video, or B-roll, which is just video on top of video. So it's really important that you know these things before you go and shoot. That way you're not spending as much time recording, and you don't have as much to shift or sift through and edit when it comes to editing. And you don't have to edit your entire thought at once. You can edit sentences by sentences and then put them all together. So when I do it, and it's kind of obvious because when I shoot a reel, I'm going to talk about a reel. I don't do this for all of my videos, but for a reel, it's fast action, it's produced, it's not the behind the scenes raw video that you would see in stories. That's the big difference. And it's got to be something that is not only going to nurture your existing audience, but it's going to grab the attention of someone who's not following you and teach them something and create curiosity so that they want to come back to your account and see what else you have to offer. So in a reel, I have my big idea, which is the hook, the first thing out of my mouth. And then I have about 3 points to support that hook that I just said. So yesterday's, what did I say? It was a part of a series. Common phrases that will make people swipe, part 7. That was the first thing out of my mouth. And then the second thing I knew I was going to say, phrases like, and then I turned into the person doing all the wrong things. That is keeping the visuals interesting. And I knew that ahead of time. So I shot everything. I call it straight version, or Virginia versus, the weird Virginia. So the weird Virginia is the one that does all the wrong things. So I shoot all of straight Virginia first, and I shoot those in, they're separate. So, habit or phrases that'll make people swipe. That was 1. Part 7. That was another shot. The next shot was phrases like. That was 3. So those were 3 different clips that I shot. I threw all those into an app, and I barely had to edit anything because it's just those words on the screen at that point.
Okay.
And then I shot the ending. And so again, I'm not shooting inside the app. So all of this is on my phone. Then I changed clothes, and I acted like the person who's saying all the wrong things. So she said all the bad phrases in a different shirt to make it really obvious that it's that's what I'm doing. Then I put all those clips together inside VideoLeap. And all I have to do at that point is go to each individual clip, and they call it trimming. And you're just trimming the front and the back, or the top and the bottom, however you want to put it. The beginning of the clip and the end of the clip, so there's no dead air, so that your sentences are right there. If you watch it on YouTube, all the YouTubers do it. We edit out any kind of pause, even if it's just a breath, because we want it to move as fast as possible. Same idea with reels. So at that point, I've thrown my clips in the order that they're supposed to go. I've gone to each individual clip, and I've trimmed them so there's no dead air or sighs or pauses. Sometimes I'll even edit out a filler word, or just one word that I don't need, just to make it shorter. Yesterday, I edited out the word instead. So I said, actually, I think I edited out that entire sentence because I wanted my reel to be no more than 15 seconds. Even though they give us 30 seconds, if we are going to go with the theory that the Reels algorithm is the exact same as TikTok, I know for a fact my TikTok is more likely to get pumped out to more people if it's 15 seconds versus if it's 20 to 30 seconds. So I try to keep mine as close as possible to that 15-second part.
15.
Yeah, but I have taken off the word and at the beginning of a sentence, the word but, the word so you can get rid of those filler words, or you can just get rid of a word that's not necessary to keep it as concise as possible. And then your reel is done. At that point, my video's edited, I save it to my phone, I upload it to the Reels app. That's where I add my text. And then I can upload it to my Reels channel when I'm ready.
Okay.
I save it to drafts.
Save it to drafts. Okay. So there's not a separate Reels app. It's just the Instagram app.
Correct. So once you post your first reel, you will now have created a Reels channel on your account, just like your IGTV. Have you ever, you have IGTV?
I have, yes.
Yeah. So you know how you have that little icon at the top, and if you click that, you can look at all of your IGTV videos at the same time. Exact same thing with Reels. As long as you've created at least one, now you have created your Reels channel.
Okay. I see one thing that I'm doing wrong. I'm doing the prep work ahead of time, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to get everything in its entirety, and I'm not doing separate clips. So I'm trying to do the whole thing and then edit it, and and that's why I think it's been a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, because you're trying to make it perfect all in
Yes.
one breath, if you will,
Yeah.
versus, oh, if I do it in separate thoughts or separate bullet points, I have less opportunity to mess up, first of all.
Yeah.
But second of all, it's going to make your editing so much easier, and it gives you the opportunity to change locations. If you want to change, just the background in the room, sometimes I'll just take my tripod and I'll just angle it a different way, so I've got a different backdrop, or
Yeah.
I'll flip to the other side of the camera, because visually it's just more interesting. Or I'll go change clothes, or I'll go into another room, and that'll be the next thought. It just depends on the video. But if the more visually, you don't want to do too much. If you get too crazy with the visuals and you go too fast with your edits, you lose your viewer. Just the same concept with text. If you throw too many words on the screen, you lose your viewer. You have to, especially with 15 seconds, you have to grab their attention and make it really obvious what you're talking about. And then pace yourself and make sure that your thoughts are going to be something that they can digest and understand. Yeah. Because if it's too much information or too many different edits packed in, it's just like, oh, I don't want to watch this. It's just not comfortable, and then move on.
It's too much. And that's what I love about this concept is it almost forces you to do a little bit of a series so that you can get the information out there, but it's really holding true to everyone's attention span. Because we're not dealing with any of us having this long attention span. It's got to be quick. And so especially for health information, because that's not, now we're thinking immune system, but previously nobody was thinking about it. So, getting that information out there that's not necessarily at the forefront of their mind and doing it in a concise manner and entertaining manner, I think is so powerful. Okay, here's a silly question. When you're doing your editing, are you doing your editing in that app on the phone or on the computer?
On the phone.
Okay.
I don't do anything complicated. Now, YouTube's a different ball game.
Yeah.
But anything on TikTok, anything on Instagram, as far as Reels, stories, unless I'm repurposing a YouTube video, everything you see, I've shot on my phone. I've edited in that app on my phone.
Okay.
I want to go back to what we were just talking about. If you think about the customer journey, so you've got an ideal person and they're on different areas of the customer journey. Some people that you've already educated them on the problem. They know they got a problem. They know what the solution is. They're just not sure if you've got the kind of solution that they want yet. They're not sure. But then other people don't even know they have a problem. They don't even know I'm making it up because I'm not the expert, you are, but they don't even know that all the sugar that they're taking in every day is what's causing them to be so tired.
Yeah.
So when you do a reel, you don't have a lot of time, and you are hoping that that is going to catch the attention of someone who's not following you yet. So don't go too deep into your customer journey with them. Don't assume they even know that they have a problem yet. That's a great time for you to educate them on the problem. And again, you could have a lot of fun with the person on the sugar high that all of a sudden crashes. Like, like I said, I've got straight Virginia and I've got the Virginia that does wrong. So that would be the Jen that does all the wrong things. You could have a lot of fun with her making the mistakes.
I love that.
That would be entertaining. And you're grabbing someone's attention. Maybe you educate them on what Diet Coke is actually doing to their insides if they're drinking it every day. Something that's triggering.
Okay. Yeah.
One of my most popular series is What Not to Say. Say this, say this, not that. Yeah. And it's because I'm triggering people because I'm saying things that they say every day, which I've said them too, just so you know. I'm learning from my mistakes. That's where I came up with all this stuff. But if you grab somebody by saying, I know you're doing this and you got to stop, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I do that. What else is she telling me that I should stop doing? And they're more likely to go back to your account.
Okay. I love it. I love it. What about IGTV? What's the recommendation? Try to do like one. My goal moving forward is trying to do one like once a week.
That's a good goal. That's a real good goal. Yeah. And I was going to go back to this. If you go back to one of your solo episodes with your podcast and you take a topic and you go and you look at the bullet points that you had there, that is a great outline for an IGTV. So maybe
Okay.
you're not going to give as much meat on the bones. So I think of my outlines as my bones, as my skeleton, and my
Sure.
reels are real skinny. They don't have a lot of meat on their bones. They just got the bones.
Yeah.
When I go to IGTV, I can put some more meat on the bones. For each one of those points, I can add a little bit more meat to it so that they get a little bit more information about that point. So
Okay.
you're going to take some meat off the bones if you're going to take like a 20-30 minute podcast episode and turn that into a 2-3 minute IGTV. Then you can look at the bullet points of that IGTV and you could take each one of those bullet points and make that a reel so that now you've got a series and you're not trying to cram all the information into
Yeah.
one reel, but you're picking apart your IGTV to see how you can create a handful of reels from that one video.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Now, don't you have a particular day that you set aside to shoot video? And I mean, how do you organize?
Everybody's different. So some people like to plan their entire month of content. Some people like to shoot all of their videos on one day of the week. And I am a little bit different. So I do have content creation days, but they're not just for videos. Instead, what I'll do is every week I brain dump all the ideas I have for a reel and TikTok and even stories. And sometimes I can do a reel on a topic that can turn into a story the next week. And I don't mean I'm using the exact same video. I'm just saying I might talk about it in reels the next week. So don't feel like just because you talked about it in stories means you can't talk about it in reels or you can't talk about it in an IGTV.
Okay.
It's just they're all different places on our account that allow us to use different ways of telling the same information. So think of it that way. But what I do is I brain dump all the ideas in my little book here, my little planner. And that way I know that when I can't think of something, oh, it's right there. And I will keep these notes in my notes app because I'll think of things on the fly. And my
Sure.
46-year-old brain, she tells herself that she can remember these things. She never does. So I have to write them down. I have
Yeah.
to. And then I've got the content there. So there's no excuse. And I schedule a time that I'm going to shoot my reel. And that's how I do it. Could I shoot 5 reels in a day? Yeah, but I don't want to. That's just not
Yeah.
how I work.
Yeah.
But I'm consistent, so my method works. But if you're more consistent, if you shoot them all at the same time, then go for it. But have some kind of a system, just one that works for you.
Yeah, I think the thing I've gotten a little bit better about is having the week planned out and then having a general idea of this day I want to have an Insta reel, this day I want to have an IGTV, this day is going to be this content with this picture. And so I've gotten a little bit better about planning and kind of forecasting out. I just need to like tighten up, I think, on getting it
Here's
done.
how I do it, and this works for me, and it works for a lot of the students in This Is Video School. I look at what I'm going to be doing the next day. So, for instance, today I'm recording this podcast. I could easily take a picture of us. In fact, I'll do it right now. This could easily be a video or a picture that I throw into Instagram stories for a behind the scenes, which I highly recommend you do some kind of behind the scenes every day so that people see what life is like for you when you work. And that is a way of me documenting what I'm already doing. And something else, like if I wanted to, I could take something that we talked about today. I'm going to try to do this. I could take something that we talked about today and I could turn it into a teachable moment on Instagram stories. So this is, I'm shooting a video or I'm shooting a video. I'm shooting a video right now of me interviewing Jen for this podcast because it's a nice behind the scenes of me showing what it looks like when I do this. And then now that the people are on stories are watching it, they can see that I'm also shooting a podcast that's coming out real soon. So there you go. I just shot a behind the scenes and I can put that in stories. But think about what you're doing to, and again, going back to what you said about the was it lemon water that you drink every morning?
Yeah.
That you're documenting. So think about your routines that you do and why you do them. And could your ideal person benefit from that information? Bam. You've got a story, you've got a post, however you want to make it. And you could do it a story one day and a post the next week. It doesn't matter. But so that's one way. And then the other thing that people seem to like, and I kind of like too, is taking a big hunk of a piece of content, in your case, a podcast. And so let's say your podcast is how to eliminate sugar from your diet. Let's say that's your topic. Well, now you could say, all right, that's going to be my theme for the week. And everything I do is going to be revolved around sugar in some way. And
Okay.
all that's doing is just helping you categorize your thoughts so that it's not hard and you're not trying to like pick something out of thin air. Same idea with your schedule each day. It's giving you a starting place to think of things instead of like having, millions of ideas. You only have something in a certain category or a certain day to choose from.
I love that. I love that. And I think that is realistic for me to do.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're already doing it. When you document as you go throughout your day,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of you training yourself and getting the discipline so that you create that habit. And I was telling a client the other day, let's not start like with the full body workout in the first week. If you've never done this
Right.
before, I said, he works out a lot. So I was like, we're just going to do cardio today, this week, Dave. And so what that meant was I said, if all you can do every day in stories is document and have a face to camera tip each day, a behind the scenes, and it can be a picture, a boomerang, or a quick video. It does not matter. And you can talk on it if you want to, but you don't have to. And then I said, some kind of personal thing. So his behind the scenes was going to be what he does when he's doing his real estate business. And I said, but then we need a little bit of Dave that we don't expect to get, because I think of stories as like the VIP access that your followers have. Like
Okay.
they're
Yeah.
special. They get the reality show.
Yeah.
So in his situation, he's doing this crazy 75-day workout challenge. And I said, so let them follow along on your journey and know that every day you're going to show either you getting off the stationary bike all sweaty and talking about how it went, or maybe it's just a boomerang of you working out with weights that day and just highlighting that it's day 16 of the 75-day challenge, but anything that's just going to let people feel like they got to see the Jen they don't normally see.
Okay. Okay. So a tip for the day and then like a behind the scenes, and that can be really anything. I mean,
It can be anything, but so I just did a behind the scenes for stories,
yeah.
but it was also social proof because I was showing how I'm helping somebody. And so
Mhm.
that's even more powerful than just a quick scan of the room that you're working in. If you can cross over, like have some of these things overlap, it makes it more powerful. So social proof. And actually, so what I just did was a social proof, face to camera, behind the scenes, kind of a
Okay.
tip too, because I was showing
Yeah.
them. Yeah. So you can overlap these sometimes, but my point was we're just doing cardio this week. So all you have to do is think face to camera with a tip, behind the scenes, and something fun about me that is unexpected. Maybe it's
Okay.
you reading it. I don't know. Well, your kids are older than that, but something with your kids at night, like just, and it doesn't have to be a video. It can be a picture, but we just got to feel like we get to see what Jen's life is like in some way.
Okay. I think I need to get better about that. I think sometimes I'm stuck in like blinders on kind of business mode. And I'm not, and I need to do that more like behind the scenes and just kind of be a little more fun. Just be a
Yeah.
little bit more me. I mean, and
So this is something I've recently done, and I could be really annoying people with it, but you know what? I'm not for everybody. I kept using the example in the last couple of weeks how I talk to, it's it sounds insane, but my imaginary friend. I talk to myself a lot. I talk to the camera while I'm setting up. I don't know. I just do it, but I'm realizing that that's part of my process. That's why I get so comfortable on camera, because I'm always just
yeah,
like talking to my imaginary friend. And so I started to realize, well, I also dance a lot. And that's also why I can act goofy, because I'm in play mode. If you
yes,
don't get yourself into play mode, you will always be stiff and businesslike. And I know that because I've done that most of my life. And so I've started to show the behind the scenes little dances that I do. And I'm hoping to encourage other people to do it, because it puts us in a better mood, especially with all the angst that we have right
yes,
now.
yes, yeah.
Think of like, what does weird Jen do sometimes? You don't have to say this answer out loud, but what does weird Jen do sometimes? What does she do that which she would normally not ever do in front of the camera, because she would be so embarrassed by it? And then you're like, well, maybe my viewers, or maybe my ideal person does want to see that. Maybe they do want
Yeah.
to see that I wear, really ridiculous house shoes at night. I mean, nothing crazy. I mean, I'm not talking about anything that's going to hurt your credibility.
Yeah.
you have to have fun, because people go, especially now, because we all want to be distracted and
Yes.
entertained in some way, and we want something to smile about. People get on social media to get distracted, but they're looking for either entertainment, motivation, inspiration, or education. And edutainment is the best way to go, which is why reels are so fun, because we can educate and
I
entertain at
like
the same
that.
time.
Yeah.
And you can do that in stories too. You could do a fun dance and then put a text bubble. Like I did this the other day. It was a little obnoxious. I don't know if I'll do it again, but we're always testing. I did the 3 mistakes, caption mistakes you want to avoid on reels. This was in stories.
Yeah.
And my first 2 tips were just me dancing, not pointing at text bubbles. I was just having fun. I shot the video and then I added the text. And then the 3rd tip, which was the 3rd story in that, I actually talked to the camera. So you can switch things up and test them. And if it's a flop, then don't do it again. Like,
Okay.
not the end of the world if you do something that doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's just kind of finding that groove and getting comfortable. And I loved the suggestion, and I took your suggestion of like loosening up and dancing a little bit. So I did that, when I was about to record a podcast. I was like, okay, I've got
Yes.
to I mean, because again, if I'm trying to convey a lot of information, and my goal is to take all of this very complicated science that most people would be like, okay,
You're hurting my
no
brain.
thanks.
Yeah.
How do I make that very simple and so that they can apply it to their life? So I have to apply some type of fun to it, some sort of so it's not so serious.
Yes. One of my co-hosts back in the day, he would always say, Virginia, if we're not having fun, the viewer's not going to have fun.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that if we're not having fun and we're faking it, they're going to smell that from a mile away. And I know what you mean. 2 days this week, I think because of daylight saving time, I have just been so tired in the middle of the afternoon. And I normally don't get like that. So I have to come down here and do a dance party in my laundry office so I
Yeah.
can get pumped up and get revved up to do the video. And it never fails. I always am in a good mood. I mean, you don't have to do a video to do a fun dance. Like you can dance
Yes.
anytime to get in a better mood. But it really does work. It does work.
It's funny. That is a suggestion. I had a coaching client and who has a very stressful job, and then she's coming home, and then it's homework time with her daughter. And so she was just having a hard time transitioning. So our suggestion that we came up with as we brainstormed together was that she was going to go in her room, take some deep breaths, turn on a favorite song, and do a little dance and just kind of do a transition from stressful work to homework time. And again, we got to find what works for us.
Yeah, but you know what you just did? That could have been a post. That could have been a 40-second video. That could have been a tip in your stories. That could have been a fun reel. Now, don't be like me because we're the same age. Your brain probably is Swiss cheese too. Write that down and come up with 5 different ways you could tell what you just said. Part of it could be social proof where you can talk about how you were working with a client and that's what y'all came up with. That's great because now that's telling the potential client, oh, that's what she would do. She would brainstorm ways for me to take real life examples to de-stress and even help out with my relationship with my kids. So that might be another content category for you. But so that's one way. That could be a post. You could have a picture of, maybe you do the same thing. Maybe there's something that you and your daughter do. So you could make it about you instead of about the client. Or it could be a picture of, your client, if she would be okay with that. And you guys could she would have to give you permission, but you could say, this is my client, Sarah, and we've been working on ways to help not only her de-stress, but her daughter de-stress. And here's something fun she tried this week that really worked for both of them. And that's social proof, but it's also teaching at the same time.
It is. Yeah.
And it's a story, and stories always sell. The more you can teach in a story, it's money. It literally, it's money.
Well, we're captivated by stories. We want to know, and then we want to know what happens next. And so I think if I can really step up my game with regard to telling some stories, it makes people feel more comfortable, but it keeps people coming back because they're like, what is she going to say now?
Mm-hmm.
What story is she going to tell
reminds me, and we've talked about this before, one of your content categories needs to be inspiration. You don't have to call it that. That's just an easy universal
for sure
term I can throw around. But you've got so many stories and life lessons that you could share with your audience that would be a teachable moment, but it's an on-ramp to let us get to know you on
Mhm.
a much better or different and higher level by you sharing some of the things that you've gone through. So don't forget those either. And I
Okay.
know because we are so much alike, we get so laser focused on business, we forget to talk about ourselves in a good way, not in a look at me way, but in a way that like helps people relate
Sure.
to us, learns from our mistakes and lessons. And they'll stop coming back if all we do are tips. Believe me, I got reminded last week. That was what my podcast was about last week, because I call it being too tipsy. We get a little too tipsy with our information, like too much information, and people start to see us as just like a robot who doesn't feel what they feel. And we know we feel
Yes.
what they feel. That's why we're doing what we're doing, because we were where they were, and we figured out how to get over that, and we nerded out about it. We went to school
Yes.
for
Yeah.
it. And now we help people with the same transformation. So we got to remember to share our own transformations. You were just listening to part of a video strategy session with health coach Jen Pickett. By the way, she will help you with all areas of your life, like we were talking about. And you can get more information from her as well as access her podcast at inspirehealthyharmony.com. And you can also book a 1 hour virtual session with her where she will deep dive into what is causing you to feel in your physical life and your spiritual life. And if you would like more information about This Is Video School, check it out at thisisvirginiakerr.com or at This Is Virginia Kerr on Instagram. I would really like to hear from you and hear what kind of content and topics you would like to hear more about on this podcast, on this YouTube channel as well. And you can do that just by reaching out to me on Instagram at This Is Virginia Kerr. Until next time, take inventory and take care.